All right, we are rolling through fall, and that is going to be starting on Saturday, of course, officially, but unofficially. That's the feel is in the air. It's still pretty green around here, but we wanted to get an idea of when the peak color would be coming here in southeast Michigan and then in other parts of the state, because we know a lot of us love to go up north and enjoy all the foliage up there. So not just when it's going to happen, but then some of the specific trees that we can watch out for. So let's head out to East Lansing, and that's where we find Bert Craig. He is an MSU professor in the Department of Horticulture and Department of Forestry. Bert, it's good to see you. Thanks for being with me.
Good to be here.
All right, so when you start looking at what the weather we've had, can you give us a sense in timing of when we're going to start to see some of the best color?
Sure. So the timing of our fall color usually, of course, starts up north, actually up in the UP, probably late September. You'll begin to start seeing some color up there. Early October, northern Michigan, and then it progresses pretty steadily downward, and then by the time you get down to southeast Michigan where you all are at, kind of late October. So sort of that week by week progression, beginning early October for northern lower Michigan.
Is there anything different from that timing pattern this year?
I don't think too much so far. A lot of this we don't know till it happens. The big driver is temperature, especially nighttime temperature. So we've got a little bit of a warm up this week. It depends how long that persists. Generally speaking, the warmer the temperatures, the more delayed the colors will be. So we kind of have to track the temperatures as they're occurring. But so far, I think most of the long-term outlooks I've seen have us right around average, so that means that normal sort of progression that I outlined is what we should look forward to.
Yeah, Bert, what really caught our eye was you had this great article that really took us through the kinds of trees that we should be looking for and the brilliance of color in the different foliage. Could you kind of go through, I mean, you started off with red maple and what we can see from red maples and timing-wise.
Yeah, so the theme of the article was sort of the starting lineup for the fall color, and a few years back we used to look forward to baseball this time of year and playoffs, but now we're talking football instead. But
not
but
for
the
a very
idea
long
was,
time.
But the idea was that we've got kind of a lineup of trees that give us fall color, and we sort of have those the all-stars, and that would be things like red maple and sugar maple. And especially when you go up north, those are the trees that really stand out. They give you the vibrant reds, the bright oranges. Those are the trees that really tend to stand out to people. And of course, we've got a lot of maples here in Michigan as part of our hardwood forest. But there's a lot more to fall color than just the maples, and that was kind of the point of the article.
Mm-hmm. When you head up north, also it's the aspens that stand out as well with their bark and then their leaves.
Absolutely. So farther north you can get into in the UP in particular, and northern lower as well. We get into stands of aspen, and you can get those brilliant yellows, and as you said, the silvery gray bark on those. It really makes a standout and great show for the fall.
Okay, and also oaks are plentiful around here too.
Yeah, so throughout Michigan, we have lots of oaks, red oak, scarlet oak, even white oak. It gives us kind of this russet red, and it also the nice thing about Michigan. So people talk about Vermont and New England and all this, and they do have brilliant color, no doubt. But one of the things we get here in Michigan, because we have this diversity of forest types and tree types, not only do we get different colors, but it also affects the seasonality. So the oaks, for example, often turn a little bit later than some of the other trees. So it gives us not only different intensity to our fall color, but also helps to sort of spread the season out a little bit, which is kind of nice. If you can't get up north that second weekend in October, there's still lots of fall color to be seen.
So what are trees that turn usually early, or like who are among the first ones that usually turn?
Yeah, so oftentimes the maples are usually the ones, and that's often what we see, individual trees turning early, and you may see some already. I think I saw your shot there earlier, and that's probably a maple. Sometimes it's just trees that happen to be under stress or something like that that'll turn early. But the maples are usually some of the first to start to turn, and then as we get later in the season, things like oaks. Lower Michigan, nice thing about our part of the state is that we get some overlap. So we've got obviously northern forest trees like the aspen, things like that. But we also get some southern species that come up into Michigan, things like black gum, sassafras, and these are trees that can give us some really nice, there's a nice tupelo or black gum. Those are trees that can give us some nice fall color, and again give us that diversity and help spread out the season. Sassafras can really provide some really nice orange fall color, especially here in lower Michigan as well. So it gives us that diversity. That's actually a photo I took right here on campus. So you get those nice bright oranges, and really pop out in the later part of the fall.
Yeah, you also talk about kind of some of the unusual suspects as well that that pop out. So the ginkgos that are around, and some of the different things that we don't automatically think about.
Right. So, most of us live in cities nowadays. And so there are things that are planted that aren't necessarily native trees. Most of the things we've talked about so far are native trees. But there are some things that we plant for landscaping that can give us some really nice fall color. So things like ginkgo, these happen to be the photo I took there, again, is right here on campus, kind of across the way from where my building is. And they give a really beautiful yellow pop of fall color with those. So ginkgos can do that. Also, sweet gum is another species that we tend to plant as a urban tree and can have some great fall color. People often mistake sweet gums for maples. They've got kind of a star-shaped leaf, and for people that aren't looking too close, they might think it's actually a maple, but it's a southern species that will grow fairly well here, especially in southern lower Michigan, but often has a very dark red, almost purple fall color to it. So that's a great tree if you're looking for something to plant around your home, want to have some fall color. That's something to think about.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's one of the beautiful things about living in Michigan is that we do have this fall season when we can see things change. And I know that maybe we're a little bit partial, but you made the earlier comparison to Vermont. How would you put Michigan in terms of the rest of the country when it comes to the kind of foliage that we get in the show that Mother Nature puts on every fall?
Oh yeah, we're right there. I grew up. Folks were talking about Seahawks football. I grew up in the Northwest, which people think about trees and forests, but really we don't have a lot of fall color out there. It's all evergreens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really enjoy the fall season here because you do get that color and the pop and the variety, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, all of that. And it's just a great time to be in Michigan. It's always great to be in Michigan, but the fall especially. And I encourage people. People ask me where's a good place to go for fall color, and I say just about anywhere. I think a nice thing to do is on your GPS you can do the thing to turn off avoid highways or avoid freeways, and I think that's a good thing to do if you've got a 2-hour trip or something coming up. Do that. It might add 10 or 15 minutes. We get on the back roads, and there's all kinds of great places to see fall color here in Michigan, from the southeast all the way up to Traverse City or wherever you're heading.
All right. Well, Bert Craig, MSU professor in the Department of Horticulture and Department of Forestry, thanks so much for joining me and giving us a little bit of insight there. And I'm sure you got a couple of classes to teach. I mean, I'm looking at the whiteboard behind you, wondering what you've got on there. I mean, what are the lesson plans that I'm missing here?
That's my to-do list. So that's.
Oh, I see. All right, good. Well, I'm always a little nosy like that. I love people's backgrounds. All right, Bert, thanks so much for joining me. You take care, okay? Enjoy the fall.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.